Hello and welcome to this Price a Job tutorial. In this video we'll discuss the Masonry Painting module in Price a Job. To access the Masonry Painting module, first navigate to the External Finishes category here in the module toolbar and select Masonry Painting. And click Create. This opens the Masonry Painting module, which is essentially a simplified version of the Cement Render module, which we have covered in depth in another tutorial. To begin with, we'll input the area that needs to be painted. In this case, we could just simply set 100 square meters, or if we're unsure of the area, we could use the area calculator. Here we can access other modules that we've already created in the library, such as the external walls modules that we've prepared here on the side. And we can import the desired areas into our calculator by selecting that wall. Alternatively, we can use the Rooms tab, and if we've set up our rooms in advance, we can import these measurements into our calculator. Or alternatively, we can use the Add Spaces function to tally up our area one section of wall at a time by entering the wall shapes and measurements. If we have an opening that must be deducted from our total area, we can still use the Shapes calculator and then just change the operator from a plus to a minus. For this example, we'll just use a simple area of 100 square meters. Next, we can specify if any preparation is required. This opens a window with a variety of libraries in it: preparation, materials, and removal. Within the preparation library, we have options such as filling holes and cracks, sanding and filling, burning off paint, wet cleaning, pressure wash, and smoothing walls or ceilings. And these are all assigned price estimates within the Price a Job library based on the area to be prepared. So for example, we might have to fill some holes and cracks, and we can set the square area of that to, say, 20 square meters. And this is added to the library here under the preparation stage. Next, we can add any materials required for this preparation. So here we have under the library a variety of categories for sealants, fillers, building chemicals, gloss paints, metal paints, primers and undercoats, self-adhesive rolls, scrim tape, dust sheets, rendering beads, and drywall screws. So for this example, we'll surely require at least a dust sheet or two, and we can adjust our quantities here. And this is added to our preparation stage as well under materials, and Price a Job will also automatically calculate any labor associated with those accessories. Next, we can specify whether there's any removal of existing work as part of our preparation. And within this library, Price a Job gives us estimates for removing materials such as plasterboard, plaster, cement render, tiles, cladding, wallpaper, or just generic preparation. We also have categories other than wall finishes for ceiling finishes, concrete demolition, landscaping, plumbing and heating, roof, floor finishes, walls and chimneys, woodwork, and building and outbuildings. So for this example, we'll select wall finishes, and perhaps we have to remove some plaster from certain areas of the wall. Let's set this at 10 square meters. In addition to the labor for removing the plaster, Price a Job has also added a plant and tool category here for the debris. In this case, we can see in the sidebar that the disposal volume of this amount of plaster should amount to 0.3 cubic meters, in which case a quantity of 15 30-kilo rubble sacks should suffice. If we'd rather not deal with the rubble sacks, we can select from the drop-down and select instead a 2-yard skip. If this skip will also be used for disposal of other modules, we can leave this as is at 0.2 skips, but if this is the only job that requires disposal, we can just round this up to the nearest whole number. And we'll note for the preparation that the materials and labor are not itemized here in the automatic description. If we would like to have these preparation materials added to the description, we can simply select the box here, and the details are added. If we feel that's too much information, we can simply deselect that and have a more concise description. Next, we'll take a look at the Masonry Paint stage. Here we can specify how many coats of paint are to be applied, 1, 2, or 3, and we can select from the drop-down box the type of paint we wish to use. By selecting the Cog Settings button, we can adjust the coverage of both the paint and the stabilizer. The settings provided as a default are standard manufacturer recommendations. However, this is usually listed on the top of the tub to let you know the exact coverage of the type of paint you're using, and you can adjust this if necessary. If you won't be requiring any stabilizer, which is a type of undercoat, you can deselect this option and it is removed from the Masonry Paint stage below. In this case, we'll leave it added in, and here we can see it represented in the Masonry Paint estimate. If we have any specific notes we would like to add to this project, we can add a note here independent of our stages. So for example, we could say exclusion, decorating only garage and attached shed, outbuildings not included. And now this note will be added to our description independent of all of our stages. So if we deselect preparation and deselect masonry paint, all of the automatic descriptions have been removed except for our manual note that we input ourselves. We can add our stages back in, and all of our automatic notes are added as well. Now if we'd like to have a separate module for both the garage and the shed that we'll be decorating, we can simply adjust the title of this one. We'll just call this for garage. And then we can go over here to the sidebar and either add a new module of masonry painting, or maybe simpler to duplicate the existing module and select that. And we'll retitle this one, instead of garage, we will call this shed. And then we'll adjust the area. And again, we can use the area calculator for that if necessary, but in this case, we'll just set the area at 50 square meters. And then if we need to make any adjustments, we can do so. Perhaps the shed will not require any preparation. Now we can see both of our modules here in the sidebar, the painting for garage and the shed. When we refer to our reports tab and look at the quote, we can see that each of our modules are represented here in the finishes category under masonry painting. We have the masonry painting for the area of 100 square meters for the garage and the 50 square meters for the shed, with a fully detailed quote showing all of our units and prices, subtotals for the material, labor, plant, and other costs, and grand totals at the bottom. We have full control over how much detail we choose to show here in the quote, and here under the advanced settings, we can hide descriptions, materials, labor, plant and tool, other costs, pricing, and units, or we can simply opt for a simple quote, which just shows the summaries. And if we choose to conceal some of the subtotals, we can hide the breakdown of material, labor, plant, and other costs by decreasing the subtotal display here. And now this shows us subtotals for the various modules and the grand total. And if we prefer just to remove the subtotals of the modules, we can deselect this to the most basic totals to only show the grand total at the bottom of the quote. And depending on your preference, you can either title the quote as a quote, as an estimate, as a quotation, or a proposal. In this case, we'll consider this an estimate. And then we can either print this off, export it as a PDF, export it as a Word document, or email it directly to our client from within Price a Job. And that is how to use the Masonry Painting module. Thank you for using Price a Job.